Hey guys, I am back in the kitchen again. As a lot of you guys know, I had COVID in, I don't know, like the middle of September. My mom was calling. Fell over. I had you guys propped up. I'm looking for something else to prop because oof, oof, this is really bad. I yeah, I had the salt there, and so now I spilled salt. That's not a good thing to do, is it? But I had you guys propped up. I'm trying to cook. I'm in the kitchen and I had this idea, this crazy idea that I could replicate my grandmother's raw apple cake. I can't believe I just did that. Anyway, I'll have to find a I have to find something to put this on. But anyway, if you, share in the group, share in our Facebook group and Low Carb Journey if you can. But anyway, I'm back in the kitchen. So I had this crazy idea that I could replicate I think I'm getting hearts, that I could replicate my grandmother's raw apple cake. And when I mentioned this in our cooking community, a lot of folks, I said, my grandmother made this raw apple cake that I loved. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Kathy. And I haven't even tried to make the raw apple cake, but I decided for holidays, I'm getting a tripod in the dining room. This is where I do my food photos. If you just saw the salt that was turned over, look at this. Yikes, this is my dining room where I have all of my photo stuff. That's where I have the stuff for when we do our live sessions. Yes, that is a mattress. Don't even ask. That is a mattress in my foyer. And then that's the little, I pull this into the kitchen when we do live sessions. So you've seen, like, you've gotten the friends only tour. It's like why we don't have anybody over because my house is a disaster. Anyway, if you guys can hear me, please do share this in the group. But I decided to try to make a raw apple cake because my grandmother always made one for the holidays. Actually, she just made them because she loved them, I think. I'm going to put you guys down while I set up my tripod. But anyway, so I have been playing with this recipe for some time. And um, the recipe is just kind of a hearty cake, kind of a, how do you explain it? Just a hearty cake. It's not delicate. It's not delicate like a layer cake. It doesn't have that delicate crumb. It's more hearty, kind of like a bread, I guess. Let me see if I can get this to go up. Anyway, so I decided it would be, I played around enough with bread recipes and things that I felt like I could make this like for real. So I had been jotting down my ideas now, I don't know, probably a month. I think I did it before we ever got COVID at our house. Yeah, that's how long it takes me sometimes. And let me put this up here so your eyes aren't looking. You aren't looking up at me. But anyway, so I while I was cooking, I've been doing this. This is like my fourth or fifth day in the kitchen in the past week. Again, trying to get holiday stuff. Look, I've got the behind me, the cabinets open. That's where I keep my sweeteners. So yeah, you guys are definitely getting the friends and family tour, right? Okay. There we go. Now I can be hands free and chat with you guys. So, like I said, I had not planned to go live. So, if you can share this in the Facebook group, I'm trying to tighten up the tripod and I'm tightening it the wrong way. This has been one of those weeks where being in the kitchen has just been, I've had to laugh. Like everything I've done, I've got that little high. Everything I've done, I've done crazy, right? Here we go. Everything I've done, it's been a disaster. So I was writing this morning, here we go, about making cookies. And so I had this idea that I wanted to make these like really yummy fudgy cookies. So I had this idea for how to do it. And I tried it last week and they were terrible. I mean, well, they weren't terrible. They were too sweet. So I'm not going to say they were terrible, but they were not what I wanted them to be. So I took the time and I wrote down like everything. I wrote down like ways I thought that I could improve that recipe. Oh my gosh. So yesterday was the day. I was so confident that I knew how to improve the recipe that I didn't make just one batch of tweaked cookies. I made two batches of tweaked cookies. And so I made the first batch, got that in the oven. Before I even pulled it out of the oven, I was making another similar batch of cookies. Holy cow, y'all. The first batch came out. I tried it and it was, I'm getting egg on me. It was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. The texture was weird. Whereas the first batch had been too sweet, these were not sweet enough. And then I had kind of done some of the same tweaks to the second batch. So I was like, dear Lord, this is not going to go well. But not only did I make the second batch worse, like they were worst. Oh, they were terrible. I threw them away. The entire pan went in the trash, except I had forgotten to oil the pan. I had not greased the pan. So when I pulled them out of the oven, I'd let them cool a little bit. Let's stir my cake up. I had let them cool a little bit, and and I went to get one out, and it would not budge. I mean, it would not budge. I'm going to move this. It would not budge. It would. It was stuck like super glued into my muffin top pan. And so I started trying to literally chisel it out. And I'm not kidding. It was so bad. I've never had cookies stick like that before. It was so bad that I almost threw the entire pan in the garbage. I was like, I will buy a new pan. I can't even get this out. Like, that's how bad it was. But I finally figured out, that if I took a spoon and went around the edge of the cookie, I could kind of pop it out. And that's how I got them all out. And then David came home and they were hard as like hockey pucks. I'm not exaggerating. David came home and he picked it up and he just kind of went, mm. And I was like, it's terrible. Don't even try. You'll break a tooth. And he broke one in half and he's like, I'm not going to even try it. And then, oh, Keto, his life is watching. How are you doing? She's got a new book coming out. I'm so excited about. But anyway, you're going to have to come on live with me, by the way. Anyway, so I threw that in the trash. And then the other batch that he actually tried, he's like, well, like you can eat it at least. So anyway, that was my disaster. So I've decided to table those chocolate cookies for at least a little while. But what I'm not tabling is trying to make this raw apple cake that was my grandmother's. So let me know if you have done a raw apple cake. I'm going to check my recipe real quick. I'm going to put in a half a cup of pecan. So let me chop those up while we chat. But if you had a raw apple cake, my grandmother called it raw apple cake. So basically, it's like this really kind of hearty cake with kind of brown sugar flavors, pecans, and I've played around with the carbs enough. I think I can put some pecans and apple. She would put chopped raw apple. And as you guys know, I've been able to add a little bit of apple to some of the recipes. So anyway, it's been really fun to play with a little bit of apple. Granny Smith apples, I know some people are like, apple is not keto. So Granny Smith apples actually have a lot of flavor and some of the least amount of sugar. And so I've been using Granny Smith apples, and honestly, just 2, 3, 4 ounces over a cake, something where you have 12 or more servings, is actually not so bad. In fact, I recently shared a recipe in our cooking community that when I made it with apples, and then I turned around and made it with blueberries because I knew some people would be like, I don't want to use apple. I made it with blueberries, and it was one total carb higher per serving with blueberries than with apple. So the dose makes the poison, right? Oh my. Linda says that she is allergic to apples, but pears are okay. See, pears wouldn't be okay because they're so high in sugar. So yeah, just you could use the blueberries, I reckon. Um, Lena said you just sent me down memory lane that my grandmother made a wonderful white apple cake that was so moist. Yes, Lena, it was so moist. But one of the reasons that doggone apple cake is so moist is because she would take it. So when it was still warm, she would take it and pour a nice drizzle, like a glaze over it. Actually, I think she would turn it out first. She would turn it out of the pan so it was right side up, and then um, she would put, she would sprinkle, or she would drizzle that sauce over it. We're going to make sauce too. Cynthia just mentioned that you can substitute chayo, or I guess you say chayo, squash for apples. You can, except that this chayo, it's not, it does have some carbs. It's not as low carb as something like zucchini. And I've used zucchini a lot as a sub for apple, but you need to flavor it because zucchini tastes like zucchini and chayote squash tastes like chayote squash unless you add something like apple pie spice or apple extract. And you have to be careful. I like using apple extract, or I like to use extracts like pineapple extract instead of pineapple. I like doing that, except if you get too much, it can kind of taste like cough syrup. Yeah, it's not a good taste, right? So too much, and it kind of has that fake taste. Now, while I'm talking, I'm chopping up my pecans with my fingers. We are so fortunate to have my in-laws have pecan trees, and every year they save some pecans for me and give me bags that I put in the freezer. Yeah, so that's one of the best parts of it. So anyway, I don't know if you guys know my friend Natasha. Natasha is a Keto is Life, and she has a book coming out. I think Natasha, it's on pre-order right now on Amazon. It's it's like my Keto Gatherings book. It's like I think Keto Celebrations or something. Anyway, Natasha was watching just a bit ago. I don't know if she's still on or not, but check out her book. Anyway, so the other thing that I'm playing with today, um, oh no, Linda says she can't have nutmeg or thyme either. No, I love thyme. THYME and TIME. I love thyme. But anyway, what was I going to say? So I've been trying to get stuff ready for the holidays. I'll share on my free website and in our cooking community. I have made two no-bake pies that I thought were really fabulous. One of them has been a huge hit with the 5 people who have tried it. And I honestly think the other one is good, but it's kind of a stepchild to one of them. So anyway, and then I made a really yummy two things yesterday. I made a cheddar chowder. Um, have you ever heard of a cheddar chowder? It was so good. I just kind of made it up. David and I were on the road this past weekend, and I started thinking about soups because it was cold, as you all know, and we had turned our thermostat down. I'm almost through with these pecans. We had turned our thermostat down, and so I guess I was thinking soup. But my cheddar chowder had it didn't have potatoes, it didn't have corn, but it did have ham and chicken and celery and onion. It was really delicious, and some cream and some broth. Okay, so there's my half cup of pecans. Let me throw that in, and then I'm gonna chop up some apple if I can find my knife, and we'll put some apple in. I will weigh this in just a second. So anyway, so yeah, and David said, so I made a mistake yesterday. I actually spent some time going through, okay, what recipes do I have ready for you guys for the holidays? And what do I need to get ready? And well, how about that? I have a lot more to get ready than I thought. Well, so we're going to do, again, this will be part of the cooking community. We're going to do a charcuterie workshop. And I'm really looking forward to that. The idea, and I am going to peel this apple, so be patient with me. The idea of the charcuterie workshop is how to kind of make good low carb or keto choices to put on your charcuterie tray. And then how to arrange it to kind of make it pretty. And I've got a couple ideas if we can get this scheduled before Thanksgiving. And that's why I was looking at my schedule yesterday. I've got a couple ideas for Thanksgiving and a couple more for Christmas. Well, I say Christmas. It's just kind of all the December holidays because I think some of those food traditions, some of them just kind of blend. So anyway, we are going to be super busy in the cooking community in November trying to work ahead because, I mean, by mid-December, you don't want any new recipes, right? Because you're in the middle of the game. You're in the middle of the game of entertaining, right? And ready for the holidays. And yes, I'm sorry, Natasha did say her book is Let's Celebrate. So that one, again, would be great to have. For the holidays. Natasha, when does it come out? I cannot remember. I wanted to say it was January, but I don't remember when it comes out. But anyway, I'm chopping up these apples, and I do want to weigh this. So give me a second. Let me grab my food scale, which always stays on top of my microwave. I'm not in pajamas today. Are you proud of me? Yesterday I spent the day in pajamas. I got up and I started working in the kitchen, making those darn cookies that were a disaster. And so I started making those. And the next thing I know, I wanted to work on from the computer to type some stuff up and send some emails. And the next thing I know, it was 4:00 and I still had on pajamas. So I didn't mean to have a pajama day, but I just got busy working. And so today, of course, David didn't even seem to notice when he got home. I was teasing him about that. But then today I was like, let me go ahead and get back in my schedule and start getting dressed before David leaves. Okay, I'm not even up to an ounce of apple yet. I've got a good, excuse me, probably third of a cup in there. And this is why I weigh. Some things I can eyeball, a lot of stuff I can eyeball, but apples are not something I use very much. And so I think weighing them, especially because they're higher carb, is a good idea. So we're going to make the glaze. Once I get this in the oven, we're going to make the glaze. And I did this like all kinds of out of order. I did not grease a pan yet because I'll be honest, I wasn't sure what size pan I wanted to use. And so I didn't grease a pan yet. Natasha, do you do that when you're creating? And the other thing that I'm struggling with, I honestly think that the best pan for this is probably going to be my 7-inch pan. But like, who has a 7-inch pan? If I publish this recipe for you guys in a 7-inch pan, is it going to like blow your mind? Are you going to be, is it going to, like, you're going to be like, I don't know what pan to use, Kristie, because I don't have a 7-inch pan. So I don't know if I'm one of the only human beings on the planet. I have the 7-inch pan, by the way, for what it's worth, to make Instant Pot cheesecakes. If you haven't had an Instant Pot cheesecake, oh, girlfriend, you're missing out. Boyfriend, you're missing out. Okay, this is 2.5 ounces. I think I'm going to stop there. I'm chopping these very finely, and 2.5 ounces would give me plenty. So let me chop up. I just put the apple in there to weigh it. So I'm being honest about it, I promise. The funny thing, I said I'm being honest about it. I can't cheat on the whole carbs. Now, if you go in and you calculate your own carbs for one of my recipes, it may be different because ingredients do vary. But keep in mind that I'm very aware, and Natasha probably is too, I'm very aware that I'm creating recipes for a lot of people who are trying to manage health issues by eating low carb or keto. So if you have type 2 or type 1 diabetes, or you're managing seizures, we have a lot of folks in my group who are using keto to manage seizures in their children or for themselves. And so I take this pretty seriously, which is one reason I'm weighing it. The other thing that's really interesting, this is 2.5 ounces of apples. And look, my cup is nearly full. So keep that in mind too. All right, so like I told you guys, when I was doing this recipe, and I've got to add in my extract. When I was doing this recipe, I put it on paper first. I kind of used a little of info from this, info from that of other recipes I'd made to determine what I wanted to do with this recipe. And so it's been on paper. So sometimes when I get from the paper to the actual kitchen, I have to make a few adjustments. So you'll probably see me in a minute like stop and take a peek at this and say, okay, what pan am I using in terms of volume? And then I'm noticing that this batter is really, really dry. So I'm thinking I need to put, yeah, it's dry. I'm thinking I need to put a little cream or almond milk or something in here. So let me grab some almond milk. I don't know if I have any in the fridge. Let's go look. So holiday cooking. Talk to me about that. Well, talk to me about the pan first. I don't see any comments from you guys. So you're supposed to let me know if you have a 7-inch pan or not. Natasha says her in-laws have pecan trees too, and they live in West Tennessee. And Natasha, you're in Georgia, right? I think you're in Georgia. But yeah, those pecan trees are amazing. I don't have any almond milk in here. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Ha ha ha. I've got almond milk. My fridge. Kathy says, um, I love your cheesecake recipe. Yes, there's I have a Instant cheesecake recipe on Diet Doctor. And I have, in the cooking community, I have a lemon cheesecake recipe that is one of my personal favorites. I think that's like the best cheesecake I've ever made. Oh, Natasha says she's in East Tennessee. Natasha, I wonder how far you are from my Boone house. So are we a property in Boone, North Carolina? It's the northern part of Boone, near a little place called Todd. I'm going to put my almond milk in while I'm talking. Y'all remind me, it's a 1/4 cup of unsweetened almond milk. But anyway, I wonder if you're close to that. The house isn't going to be ready for a long time. People are saying they have no 7-inch pan, no 7-inch and 8-inch. 8-inch would probably work. I love Jennifer. Jennifer said, I don't have a 7-inch, but I can order one. Yeah, this is the time of like, okay, let's put it on the Christmas list, right? I will tell you the pie I made, it's like a butter pecan, no bake cheesecake kind of thing. I will tell you that I made it in the 7-inch pan. And I did that because I wanted it to have that gorgeous kind of height that'd be really impressive. I think there's one slice of that left. I should show you guys what that looks like. That is the pie that everybody has loved. In fact, I may have to put it, here we go, that's loosening up that batter. I may have to put that recipe in not just the cooking community, I may have to share that like on my blog or something because it is so good. Natasha says she's 3.5 hours from Asheville. This is north. You would go through, I think, Johnston City, Tennessee. You go through Johnston City, Tennessee, and kind of go, look at me, kind of goes straight across. So anyway, we'll have to look at the map and see where you are. I am, by the way, going to taste this. I know it has raw egg. It's not very sweet, which is what I wanted. I only put a 1/2 cup of sweetener. I put a 1/4 cup of brown sugar substitute, and a 1/4 cup of Boca Sweet. It's not terribly sweet, but remember the apples are going in, which is going to add a level of sweetness, and the glaze is going on top. So that's another kind of layer of sweetness. Somebody says, we can't see what you're making. I want to see it. You don't want to see it. It's not much right now. Look, it's not that impressive. Yeah, maybe, hopefully it will be. Fingers crossed when I get it in the oven. So here's my 7-inch pan. I can put it in here, but I think it's actually going to be too big for that. It might not cook thoroughly. I broke my smaller bundt pan. So I have a bigger bundt pan. This is probably a 10 cup. I need to look it up. This is probably a 10 cup. So this is going to be huge. And so my cake is probably going to be flat and not worthy of photographs. Holy cow. Not worried of photographs, but we're going to try it. We're going to try it anyway. So let me get some butter on my fingers and we'll butter this up. Donna must have just joined. So those of you who are just joining, what are you making? I'm making an apple cake. My grandmother, this is just butter. My grandmother would make a raw apple cake for the holidays. And we loved that raw apple cake. And because of the carbs in apple, I've never really tried to make this. But then when I figured out, I'm putting 2.5 ounces of apple in this, it actually will give a lot of flavor. So I've already, I told you guys I put this on paper. I actually put this in Chronometer. I like to do Chronometer. I use that to calculate the carbs per serving in my recipes. So I actually put it in Chronometer before I started creating, so I would have an idea of how much room I had to play with the ingredients. And I was nervous about adding pecan and apple. So I'm just greasing this up. Can't put too much butter, right? You could use coconut oil too if you prefer. And I was thinking about this recipe. Is it dairy free? It does have melted butter, but you could use coconut oil. So you can make this recipe dairy free pretty easily. Okay, let me wipe my hand off so I can. Oh, good morning, Susan in Connecticut. Yeah. Anyway, and you guys are probably like, are you doing anything besides sweets for the holiday? I am doing more than just sweets for the holiday. I'm just trying to get these sweets out of the way because they take me the longest to kind of work with. So that's why I'm focusing on the sweets right now. I actually have a couple appetizers that I will be sharing besides the charcuterie stuff with you guys. All right, I am scraping all of it out of the bowl, and then we'll go put this in the oven. And keep in mind, it takes a while with these cakes. So I'll put this in the oven. It's going to need, I don't know, probably 45 minutes or so to make. I'll make the sauce, the little syrup we're going to pour over it. I'll make that next. I have to get it out of the oven, let it cool, then turn it onto a plate, right? And let it cool just a little more. Then put the syrup in it. So, and then I probably won't try it until later today when David is home. So yeah, this is a problem. Natasha, what do you use? What do you use? This is a problem. The volume of this cake is not so big, so it's going to be a pitiful little short bundt cake. So I need to. I had a pottery one that was perfect that I broke by accident, and so I'm going to have to go back to Seagrove. We have local potters in Seagrove, North Carolina. They make beautiful, beautiful pound cakes, and actually it was called a half-pound cake pan, and they're hard to find commercially. But anyway, so yeah, this is my skimpy little pitiful bundt cake. I'll show you. Look at that. Not pitiful. It fills up about half the pan. Lena said, I'm laughing at Lena. She said that she said, you must have turned the heat up because your butter is soft. No, I melted that butter. That butter went into, I'm going to rinse my hands. That butter went into the microwave. There was the bowl that I used to put it in the microwave. So yeah, I had to, if you don't know what Lena's talking about, it got cold in North Carolina, which doesn't happen a lot, but it got cold in North Carolina. And I decided that, the kids are home. I could save some money by putting the thermostat really low, right? And, and so I turned it down to 62 and I nearly froze. And so I bumped it up. I did that for like, I don't know, 24 hours or so, maybe 36 hours. I was so darn cold that David came home and I bumped it to 64. I'm like, I can't take it anymore. So I bumped it to 64. And then later I had to bump it to 66. But I did bump it back down today to 64. So we'll see. Yeah, I can't believe I spilled all that salt all over my table, my Redmond sea salt all over the table. Natasha said she got a new bump pan and it sticks. But what size is it? Is it like 8 cup, 7 cup, 6 cup? I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the standard sizes that you would use in conventional baking just aren't a great size. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm either going to have to increase the volume. We'll see if this cake is any good, right? And then I'm going to see if I can increase the volume to make it more like a traditional cake, because nobody wants to go stepping in on Christmas or Thanksgiving with a little squatty cake, right? Short cake, a little short cake, but it's not a short cake. Anyway, that is what I'm working on today. I am going to go to the stove in just a minute and work on the icing, the frosting, the syrup for this. I am probably going to use nothing that would be a surprise to you guys, except, well, there may be one surprise. I'm going to use, of course, my sucralose, that granulated sweetener, and some butter. And can you believe it? I'm going to use that. 8 cup. Natasha says hers is an 8 cup, and that Williams Sonoma has a good selection. Yeah, Ruth has a great idea too. Maybe I'm going to close this bother me. Ruth has a good idea. She says maybe use mini bump pans, and you could do that, I think. But I'll check out the 8 cups. I actually had gone online to look at the bump pans on Amazon, I think. And honestly, the sizes were not better than the one I had from the pottery place. So anyway, so for the frosting for this raw apple cake, I'm going to use some sucralose. That's my confectioner sugar erythritol blend, and I'm going to use some apple juice. I know I've done the carbs. Don't worry, we can do this. Some butter, and then a little heavy cream, and so it should be really good. Susan says, what do you call those pans that are like bump pans but flat and the bottom comes out? That's a push pan. Sorry, you can't see what I'm holding. This is what I'm holding, the sucralose, the powdered sweetener. I call it a push pan, but the push pan I have is 7 inches in diameter, and I don't think that's actually big enough. I'm gonna have to look. But anyway, I don't think that's big enough for the cake that we just made. Oh, and I've got to set a timer, y'all, because if I don't set a timer, it'll be bad. Be bad. I'm also going to put, I'm going to use some brown sugar in this, not just that sweetener. So let me grab that. Sorry, my back is to you guys. I'm grabbing some of my stuff. One of the things I really want to do, I've got apple cider vinegar and I've got some apple juice. I want to simmer this down and let it get strong. So that's what I'm working on now. Ruth says she tried to make frosting with the powdered sugar and it was gritty. Ruth, the only thing because I have made frosting with a powdered sugar and it turned out okay. The only thing I would suggest is maybe warming it up a bit at some point and also whipping it longer. Sometimes it just takes a ton of patience to get that to work right. So what am I doing? I'm going to simmer this down. I'm going to, I don't remember now, let me see if I can grab my notes. For this, let's see, my plan for the apple cake. All right, that's not the right plan. It's harder to get Swerve. I don't use Swerve. To me, Swerve has an aftertaste, like a minty aftertaste, so I don't generally use it. But I think sometimes with the supply issues, it's just difficult to get just about anything in that regard. All right, let me get my tablespoon measure. That's what I really want. I'm literally going to use tablespoons of this, and this is Kristie playing, so don't write this down. In terms of this is what Kristie uses, this is what I want to use, because this may change a lot between here and there. But anyway, I'm making raw apple cake today. I used Sucrin brown. This is the brown sugar sub I use a lot. I also like the Lakanto brown. I did buy the the brown, what is it, the Truvia brown. I was actually very excited to use the Truvia brown. And I'll be honest, it raised my blood sugar. It was not a good experience. And so now I have practically a whole full bag that I can't really use. So it has, I think the offending ingredient there is molasses. It has some molasses in it. And I think that is what got me. I don't know. Something got me. So I'm going to let this simmer down and thicken. And I will put some cream in it. I'll have to get my cream. But I'm going to, this is just on fairly low heat. And it's a blend of apple juice and apple cider vinegar so that we can make the sauce for the apple cake. Linda says, you're killing me with this frosting. You mean the icing, the glaze, the sweet glaze? I don't understand, Linda. What am I doing wrong? Anyway, yeah. So that's what we're doing today. Natasha said, I love that you share the creative process. I don't know. You're giving me too much credit. I'm just kind of playing in the kitchen. Anyway, so I don't know if you guys want to stay with me to work on this or not. I will report back. I'll do some pictures and I'm probably going to have to get a smaller bump pan, which David's going to love me getting yet another pan in the house. So I'll tell him that y'all made me do it. I'm going to clean up the salt that I spilled all over my kitchen table and finish making this glaze, which, yeah, I think Glenda's saying that she doesn't want the apple, and that's that's fine. You don't have to do it. Anyway, I am so glad you guys joined me. It's kind of fun. It gets lonely in the kitchen. So, yeah, thanks so much. I will report back when we get something out of the oven. Take care, guys. Bye.